Holy jump to the silver screen, Batman! Tiki here. And folks, long ago, I had mentioned to my cohort, BlueDragonFive, that I had never seen an episode of Batman the Animated Series. And Dragon, he was like, Tiki, I cannot stand for this. And so, Dragon, you made a vow. You made a vow. You made a passionate vow to get us to the point where I was ready to watch this movie. And what was that vow, Dragon?
Well, you see, folks, long ago I made a vow to educate Tiki in the ways of Batman the Animated Series, serving as his spirit guide to Gotham in a way.
And after watching and recapping all of season 1, we are finally ready to talk about the animated movie, the silver screen in theaters installment known as Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh yes. Oh, I've been waiting for this one. The boy finally earned it, folks. He finally got his wings. He finally.
Did I have my Private Ryan moment?
Yes, folks. After a very long, drawn out process, Tiki finally earned it.
And Dragon, you know what the most surprising thing about this whole movie is? To me, is that it's not as bombastic or over the top as I was expecting it to be. It's certainly the blue meth of Batman the Animated Series, the beloved analogy that Dragon and I use for this movie. But this is such a personal and intimate story, and it's almost kind of like a reworking of year 1 in a way. And in a way, Dragon, I definitely see the Nolanisms in here. Like the telling the story in 2 concurrent storylines, all the mysteries and reveals in the past kind of building up to stuff that's going to shape the events of the current storyline. Just the level of intricacy that the script has is really, really impressive. Of course, the detail and the animation is a feast for the eye. Mark Hamill is in top form. Kevin Conroy, I mean, my God, just give it up for the guy. Give it up for the guy. He's fantastic in this movie. Dragon, I will say for the folks, just a little disclaimer, I've known the Phantasm mystery going in, so there wasn't, it was like I've known it for years, so it wasn't really a big spoiler for me.
To be fair, it's a 25-year-old movie, folks, so your kind of word gets around.
Exactly. However, Dragon, watching it, I've seen this movie actually 3 times now, Dragon, before we're sitting down to do the commentary, and each time the phantasm of it all gets a little bit more intricately webbed. I can see how it spins. But Dragon, of course, obviously, I'm sure this movie runs in your veins. Like I've just taken the first hit of blue meth that is Batman the Animated Series. And that is Mask of the Phantasm. You, my friend, are the lifelong addict. So tell me, what is your background with this, and what is the background in general with this movie?
Okay, my background is, for the longest time, I have been a huge Batman the Animated Series fan, and there was a period where Batman the Animated Series, you couldn't, unless you did some digging back in the day, you really couldn't get Batman the Animated Series on VHS tape and kind of get it released in volumes. And what I had at my disposal, though, were three Batman items. Basically, there was a period in my life where Batman the Animated Series, I kind of was getting into it as it was going off the air. Kind of a curse, so to speak. And so kind of I saw it, I watched roughly the original, before the redesign. I think I'd watched at least the first 2 seasons and maybe half or the first, maybe a couple of the third season episodes. Anyway, so I had a VHS tape with the first 8 episodes, which were at the very beginning of this adventure. I mentioned, I know those first 8 episodes like the back of my hand. Like I committed those to memory because those are the 8 episodes I could rewatch. And I had the two feature-length animated films I did, Batman Sub-Zero, of course, another Mr. Freeze adventure, and of course the biggie, the one that I remember very fondly, the one I probably rewatched the most, because again, they didn't really have a lot of Batman options, and the coolest out of all of them was Mask of the Phantasm, and I rewatched it so many times. Years later, again, disappointing releases on DVD, but I mean, hey, I got it, and I still rewatched the heck out of it. So it's just, Phantasm was always all the happiest memories I have with Batman could be summarized to Mask of the Phantasm. Even if I could never reference an episode of Batman the Animated Series, I would take Phantasm and still be a happy man. I could still take Phantasm, still absorb all the love I have for Batman the Animated Series within Phantasm. For me, that yeah, I think that's saying something.
Okay, cool, cool.
Okay, so anyway, here's the background. It's a very interesting background. I'm gonna try to pare it down as much as I can. We'll still get all the good stuff in there because we got a packed commentary, folks. We're not doing this as a recap. We're doing this as a commentary, so it's gonna be kind of a worldly adventure, let's say. Okay, so Phantasm was directed. A very rare pairing we had in the entire series here, where we have Bruce Timm and Eric Radomski, both showrunners, both kind of show creators, directed. Like the last time this really happened was Almost Got Him and Heart of Ice. Like the same directors on those two came back for
Two
this.
very big landmark episodes for two different reasons.
Certainly, I mean, Bruce Timm, he rarely, he didn't. He only directed when things really grabbed him or if they were really important episodes. That's when Bruce Timm really kind of threw his hat in the fray. And our writers, and again, folks, this goes to show you they had all of their best people worked on this film. So we had they had multiple writers, which usually spells doom in Hollywood, but in this case, we had all excellent writers, like the best of the writers from the show, all worked on this. So
We'll get to
Alan
that in
Burnett,
credits. It's a who's who.
very simply, you have Alan Burnett, of course, the Two-Face being his huge claim to fame, guy involved in Batman ever since the beginning, longer than Bruce Timm. Paul Dini, of course, the go-to for Joker and Mr. Freeze. Michael Reeves, kind of the noir guy, kind of special for all the detective stuff with Batman, and our comics writer, Martin Pasco, who wrote See No Evil, which I remember we liked a great deal. So, it's kind of an example of Martin Pasco is kind of like your obscure, like awesome comics kind of history on Batman. So you have all your top guys working on this. And speaking of your top guys, you have your top animation studio. The best of all the animation studios did the majority of animation from this Spectrum. The Spectrum, they did.
Yes, you hype up the mighty Spectrum quite.
I cannot get enough of Spectrum. Spectrum, the animators of Heart of Ice, Grey Ghost, On Leather Wings, and also I believe Coco really kind of. I don't know if this is the start of Coco, but it was early. Where no, not that Coco, folks. The animation studio oversees Coco. They really they directed the next. They did the animation on the next feature. They did primarily they did Sub Zero, but I think they cut their teeth on Phantasm a little bit, kind of doing the animation on the side. I think the other animation studios might have done little pieces here and there, but it's the most Spectrum we've ever gotten.
The thing that really sticks out to me in terms of the style, really quick, sorry to derail you, is just how much weight there are to the characters.
Oh yeah, a lot of dramatic weight as well as kind of like
Well,
weight
yeah, of course,
animated.
but I'm just saying in terms of the look, it's like it's very angular. It's very much like it's I know it sounds weird coming from a 2D animated film, but it's almost like a more 3D representation of the characters visually.
Hmm. So, to put it simply, how do we get this film after season one? Which is very much a reason why we kind of did this right after season one, instead of waiting till like when it kind of happens in the canon of the show. Is after season one, 92. We're getting into 93, and Warner's, the very impressive Batman they told with the show, and they told Alan Burnett, kind of the big kind of head honcho producer of it all. They told Burnett, oh, look, we want to do a direct to video, which again was not uncommon, but like, hey, let's do a Batman direct to video. It's selling well. People love the Burton films. Let's again, this is pre Batman Forever, so Batman's kind of hitting the dry spell right now, so we can kind of do anything we want with them in movies for a time. And essentially, the pitch was you'll see it when we get to season three, Teague. But there's an episode called Trial, and essentially that was the premise. Trial is basically let's get a whole bunch of villains together. Let's just do kind of like a cool like a who's who of the Rogues Gallery episode. And that episode, where basically it's an intellectual episode, and in pitching that episode of like let's just kind of like see how Batman is reflected in his villains, the Warners thought, it's a little too clever and a little too talky for us. We want some with like some action as well as some kind of some logical stuff there. And the other thing that really kind of stuck in Burnett's craw, not in a negative way, we kind of after doing so many episodes in the first season, the animated series is so famous for their villain-focused episodes. Let's do something different. Let's do something purely focused on Bruce Wayne. Let's do something really unconventional, something we wouldn't have time to do in 22 minutes. Let's do a love story with Bruce Wayne.
Or even the title villain, like I'm not going to give away the whole spoiler, but let's just say the title villain isn't really a villain at all, it turns out.
Exactly. Let's take some chances. Let's shake things up for a change, you know.
Mhm.
So Alan Burnett wrote the outline. He divvied it up to the four writers. So again, to the four writers who essentially Pascal wrote the flashbacks, Reeves did the climax in the third act, Dini did all the Joker stuff and the odds and ends. He basically kind of filled in the
Oh,
blanks.
of course, Dini did the Joker stuff. It permeates Dini.
Oh, most assuredly. So early in the production, almost through here. So early in the production, the studio. Here's the big historic thing of it all, folks. This is why Mask of the Phantasm is a marvel. If you know the behind the scenes of this movie, it can speak for itself. But even if you didn't know it, but if you know this, you're gonna have your minds blown. So prepare for this, folks. Early in the production, the studio, with less than a year to make this direct to video, the studio tells the crew to turn their direct to video, which, as we all know, with the Disney films is very different than a theatrical film. Let's make a direct to video into a theatrical film for a release within the same year you're working on it. In time for Christmas, so let's put this out by like early 90, like the end of '92. Like, hey, let's do a movie. End of '93, let's release it around Christmas time.
So this could have been as disastrous as the ET Atari video game.
Absolutely, take a perfect analogy.
Like
Yes.
it was that close of a time frame. It was that much of a time crunch.
Let me put it to you this way, folks. That was the simple way of putting it, just to kind of show you how amazing an achievement this is. Okay, for just 2D animation, I mean, even by today's standards, and in many other forms, I think the equation still stands the fact even after all these years. Is that to do just a single 22 minutes of animation, like 2D animation, for a show, it takes roughly 9 to 10 months to animate.
Mhm.
So that's for 22 minutes. This movie is 76 minutes, and again,
But
they
this
have.
movie has to look theatrical. It has to go above and beyond what we see on TV.
And again, like they have most likely like their first act kind of in the can already, and like okay, we're getting into it, and like we're prepared direct to video. We have all of our stuff, like we can deliver. It probably was going to be like a direct to video with no, like we could just release it with something that comes out with Batman in the future. We don't even have to, like, the seasons are doing well. We can release this anytime versus like a clear cut like Christmas release date.
Right, right.
So what they did is the studio upped the budget to kind of entice them. They upped the budget to $6 million, which again is kind of unheard of in animation at that time for something like this based on a TV show. You just kind of, if it was a direct to video, you just basically take a combined budget from a couple episodes and string them together. So they upped the budget to $6 million, and they gave them more creative control. So that was kind of like the little thing. Okay, guys, we'll give you more creative control. We'll stop breathing down your neck on certain things. You guys deliver this, and amazingly, and again with the equation I just laid out for you folks, 76 minutes, with basically they haven't. At this point, they had and they delivered in 8 months. In 8 months, they did the impossible, and they put this movie out with 8 months, with maybe a little time, like less than a month to spare. They got this out here, and while that's happening, we have, which we'll kind of bring up during the thing, Paul Dini. He went through a very traumatic experience during the making of this film, as detailed in Dark Knight: A True Batman Story. So all this is going on. The writers are going through very traumatizing experiences.
Like, really, you could make a biopic out of the making of this movie.
Absolutely, absolutely, and again, the VHS tape, which I've kind of exposited, but like the connection, a lot of people. Again, this was also like it had like a twofold thing. It's going theatrical, but it also has like really made its money back on the home release. That's really where it made its money back. But I have to say, made its money back because unfortunately, this film famously. So again, while they achieved the impossible, you think, oh my god, it's like a happy ending. It's an Iron Giant type story here. Oh boy, they made such an amazing movie. Where could this story turn depressing? Unfortunately, no one turned out for this movie because it had the most horrible advertising you'd ever seen for a film. That they had one nice trailer, but let me give you an example. They released they had McDonald's Happy Meal toys made for this film,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you've seen this, Tiki, but
I have.
yes. But let me put it to you this way, folks. So basically, they did a toy line that was for Mask of the Phantasm, but mainly for the animated series. But what they did is they had like they have the box art on the Happy Meal.
On the side of the box.
On the side of the box, I don't even know if it's like all. It's like probably most likely one side, and you can look if you look at like the very top and like just like one line on the top of the box. It's not even the bottom of the box, like the top of the box, where it says Batman: Mask of the Phantasm, December 1993, or the Christmas Find
Dragon,
it.
yeah, it's funny. You and I must have been doing similar research because I totally know what you're talking about.
Exactly. So, folks, that goes to show you like the horrible. See, I mean, Batman. Every Batman fan was eager and happy, but the problem is all the fans, even the animated series fans, because it was so last minute in the advertising and everything, no one knew that it came out. People would have come in droves to see this, but this was like they only did a matinee for this. Tiki. They only released this in the like the Christmas morn essentially for the kiddies.
God.
And again, no one saw it. And speaking of no one seeing it, I think famously the last punchline I really have for it is that Siskel and Ebert, who review practically everything,
Yeah.
they did not get anything theatrical. They passed this by, and the following year they were very apologetic, saying, "Oh my God, we were so foolish for not."
How gratifying is that to you, Dragon? Seeing two legends of cinema just bowing down to the might of Mask of the Phantasm.
I got to tell you,
Wayne's World were not worthy.
that is satisfying, especially given the enjoyment of life itself. It kind of makes it even more satisfying. Man, that Roger, he gets around. He made a very humble apology in Mask of the Phantasm. There's a guy I respect.
And of course, as it all comes around, I'm sure it was also very satisfying when the Nostalgia Critic made that episode about like, hey, Mask of the Phantasm, best Batman movie ever.
Oh yeah. All right, folks. So essentially, I think that's a good summation of the kind of the making, kind of the reputation of Mask of the Phantasm. Let's get into it all here and kind of get kind of a recent viewer's perspective on the matter in Tiki and kind of the I've done my research on this, folks. I know some other like cool tidbits we're gonna bring up now and again. So it should be informative, and make up for the fact that Phantasm famously has never had a commentary in all its 25 years officially on DVD. So we're gonna try to amend that as we like to do here. So we're doing this as a commentary. You don't need. Hopefully, it will be informative and there'll be enough contextualization you guys can kind of piece together where we're at in the movie. But if you want to play it, like, why don't you own this, folks? You should watch this along with us just for the heck of it anyway. But just try watching along with us. Again, dealer's choice. Go with God, whatever you want to do.
All right, folks. So I'm going to go ahead and count up to 3. And then when I say go, you're going to go ahead and press play after getting synced to timestamp 000. All right, Dragon, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, Batman, Mask of the Phantasm in 1, 2, 3, go!
All right.
So the classic Bugs Bunny Warner Brothers logo.
So right off the bat, this movie just kind of has like a shut up and take my money opening with the 3D rendered Gotham, which again has that 2D Art Deco look, but kind of. And this is where a lot of the money went into. By the way, at the opening and the closing, this opening and the third act is where a lot of the money went. By the way.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Dragon, but isn't this where like most, if not all, of the CGI is in the movie?
No, this is all the CGI, Tiki.
Okay, and I find that to be such a great artistic choice on their end to have like a really bold opening credit scene, but then on the other hand, have something that's going to not really contrast with the rest of the look of the film.
Absolutely. Again, it's just kind of something. Again, it's kind of like almost like a pop-up book quality of like kind of the mythicness of the story in a way.
And of course, as we go through here, we see some legendary names.
It's like honestly, the only fault with this movie is that I would hope in the re-release they would fix this and say with Bill Finger. They'd have to do that. That's the only way you can make this movie perfect, like even more perfect than it already is. That's the only thing.
How much would you just chomp at the bits to see this movie on the big screen?
I would yes 1,000 times yes. Now, real quick, we got to mention this. I don't want to lose this again. This movie has a fantastic theme. Shirley Walker's music.
Gotta give it up. Yeah.
Now, this is her favorite of all the themes that she came up with because she really, I think they also gave her like a full orchestra on this, and she really milked it for all it's worth. And you'll notice the chanting, like the Requiem Mass, like the choir.
It really kind of reminds me of, and I mean this as a compliment, Dragon, even though people don't like the movie. It reminds me of Duel of Fates from Phantom Menace.
I kind of see that. But I mean, what's cool here is that it's either Latin or backwards, but it's the creative. It's like the people involved in the show, their names sung backwards. That's what's being sung in the choir.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's either in Latin or it's backwards. One of the two.
That's ridiculous, Dragon. I love that.
It's amazing, right? So we start with the classic kind of Batman foiling mobsters, and there's so many scenes in this movie that just like again you can just like pick any scene. You're not going to find a loser of like every scene is like a very accurate representation of
Now,
what
is this the
Batman
thing
is.
you were teasing me about the epic bat entrance in Phantasm right here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool.
And first of all, I love all the action beats here. Again, so well boarded, so well staged. You can Batman like tipping over the table and he steps on the guy to prevent him from getting the gun. Again, Tiki, you look at almost any sequence here and say that's a perfect Batman sequence, and you're going to be topped by another scene in the movie later on. It's so rendered. The Spectrum Batman has never looked this good, Tiki. And the Spectrum Batman always looks good.
No, no, I hear you. I hear you. It starts out with a bang for sure. I
It's the
like how
top.
quickly we get into the Phantasm character. We don't really waste any time with it.
Oh yeah, like 3 minutes in, Phantasm, boom. So Dick Miller, by the way, who's in everything, especially all of Joe Dante's movies, he plays Chucky Saw.
Aw.
So the Phantasm is a combination of mainly there was this character. This film is influenced a lot by Year One and Year Two. There's a comic story. It's a follow up to Batman Year One. It's called Year Two, and there's this character who is called the Reaper. And the Reaper he has like these Grim Reaper sides, kind of a vague Grim Reaper air about him. So you have the Reaper, and of course, as the Joker will say later on, there's definitely a direct Ghost of Christmas Future vibe to of yet to yet Christmas yet to come. So you have that kind of mixture going on with the Phantasm here, and they ran through like 20 designs of the Phantasm to get like the final really one that was enough of a blend of Batman with the triangular eyes and kind of the silhouette, but could also definitely be something scarier and be like a perversion of what Batman could become.
What I like about Phantasm, though, is that in the grand scheme of things, the character becomes almost like a Casey Jones type rival to Batman in some ways.
Yeah, and again,
Where, as I said, this movie doesn't like Joker is kind of on the side causing mischief and laughing about it, but really, this movie has no central villain. Like time and circumstance is the villain of Mask of the Phantasm.
sure. And again, what's great is I love that the Phantasm. There's a reason for the look beyond just the whole Angel of Death line, the whole "Your Angel of Death awaits." Again, the reasoning and just kind of that we don't spell it out. The whole like, hey, Batman could become a killer like the Phantasm, but we kind of show that. And again, in the look, you could become like an executioner, taking the law into your own hands with that, and seeing Batman kind of get that catch the blame for a lot of this. Like it's good visual storytelling got throughout this whole thing here. The great Bob Hastings says, as a very brief tenure on Jim Gordon in this film, but a very faithful one nonetheless.
No, I mean, I think it definitely fits with the mold that we've been talking about through season one with Jim Gordon and Dragon of he's got a brief role, but it's just set up like in the fabric. He's almost like the thesis statement on Batman in the movie. He's brief, but he's integral.
And in this scene here in the Batcave, we have an ever-present example of, again, even if you've never seen Batman the Animated Series, you're going to get like a good crash course in it in this movie, where you get an ever-present example of Conroy maintaining the Batman voice while he, is not in the costume. And you kind of get that here. You can hear like the heft in the voice. And what we do, Tiki, is in the flashbacks, you will see Batman before that voice even entered his mind. You get to see just, when he's all Bruce Wayne and that younger kind of sounding Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, yeah.
Because again, he hasn't quite found the moniker. He hasn't really kind of discovered what he is or kind of like where he's going.
And like I said, Dragon, I would be absolutely shocked if Christopher Nolan didn't take inspiration from this with Batman Begins.
Oh, I mean, there's absolutely. There are some irrefutable marks here that definitely have had to have found their way into Batman Begins, which we'll get there.
Yeah, yeah.
I love like the old school Hollywood kind of build to our femme fatale of the movie and Andrea there. Like we kind of again visually we're building there's some history with her and Bruce Wayne, very kind of Casablanca-esque. We have some very Casablanca-esque scenes with Andrea and Bruce in the present day.
Now, Dragon, a character I'm very curious about in terms of the fan base's reception of him is
Arthur Reeves.
Yes, Reeves.
Yeah, so Reeves is voiced by Hart Bachner. He's Ellis from Die Hard. Hans, Bobby, that guy.
Oh God.
He's also the son of Lloyd Bachner, who voiced Mayor Hill from the animated series. It's kind of that's how they got him.
Dragon,
Okay, now
You can probably guess what my favorite scene is when I tell you this, but my favorite scene in this movie involves Arthur Reeves.
Oh, I'm sure there's definitely some interesting scenes with Arthur Reeves. I think I know what it is.
But I'm just saying, I'm curious. Him being kind of like a one-off character, almost sort of like a stand-in. Like if this was Gotham, he'd be the real Harvey Dent.
Yeah, but we do kind of see a bit of like a kind of like a sleazy, corrupt guy in Gotham who's worked his way up the ladder. And I like the unspoken history on a rewatch you get between Arthur and Bruce in this scene right here, where he knows that Andre is a personal thing for him. And what I noticed on a rewatch here, I never really noticed before, is that in the flashbacks you see that Arthur Reeves is trying to become Bruce Wayne. He's trying to steal his life, which now in the present you see that he's kind of a wannabe Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
Because now he's dating Andrea Beaumont, where in the past he kind of wanted to be Bruce Wayne dating the daughter of Beaumont and such. And I mean, this scene is, there's a lot of stuff we're passing by here, folks. This is great. And this transition to the very Citizen Kane-esque.
I mean, that's the problem with this movie. It's like it's got so many layers to it, and every scene is really great. And it's like once we start peeling back one of the layers to it, we see another layer on screen. So it's like let's try and keep up with it.
Let me say this. I'm going to backtrack, but it relates to this scene right here. I love in the previous scene, Bruce is like splashed in the face by wine. I love that there was like talk of marriage and kind of a romantic future with Bruce, and really it's kind of like a cold splash in the face about that we do thematically with the flashbacks. I love that is on his mind. And we go back to, again, what we know later on the flashbacks reveal, he almost married this girl. And we get to see kind of one of those, we get to kind of learn why relationships are kind of doomed around Bruce Wayne. We get to see kind of where relationship trauma kind of started for him here.
Yeah, this is it's very interesting that in a bold move that the Batman movie that they chose to put on screen is essentially you can sum it up in so many words is what if Batman decided he didn't want to be Batman anymore?
Yeah.
Almost dare I say, Dragon, a Spider-Man no more.
We definitely flirt with that idea, but again, I've always loved it's a simple one, but with the flashbacks and all, just the way they're worked in the movie. Again, I think the simple comparison is this is the Citizen Kane of Batman movies.
Yeah, sure, and this is Nolan before Nolan.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like literally like we're learning about something after it's happened, kind of discovering things through flashback. Very much structured, literally like Citizen Kane.
Right.
So I love Dana Delaney is so wonderful, and this is how she became Lois Lane because everyone loved her in this movie. She was added to the DC animated universe because she was the X factor, one of the X factors for why this movie really worked. Because if you don't get Andrea Beaumont right, this movie really falls apart.
I really think Bruce Wayne has just famously had awful love interest. I mean, down the line, like Kim Basinger, Michelle Pfeiffer probably being a lone exception. Of course, Nicole Kidman, the Katie Holmes, Maggie Gyllenhaal debacle. It's like down the line, we haven't really had likable love interest for Bruce Wayne in the animated spectrum, at least.
All right, so real quick, this is a big. I gotta address this. So this is the Batman year one of it all, folks. This flashback here,
huge moment here.
And I gave the actor on Gotham who plays Bruce Wayne, David Mazouz, the kid who plays Bruce Wayne. I gave him a copy of the DVD for this movie based on this scene, Ski Mask Vigilante, the Ski Mask Vigilante here. And I gave it to him because the end of Gotham season 3 basically puts him in this position that got me so jazzed in my mind. And it was going into season 4, and I just wanted to give him like a little hey, a thank you for doing such great work. And he hadn't seen it. Hopefully he's I'm hoping he's watched it. But I love this. I did some research and I double checked this. This was the first time we ever have seen kind of Bruce Wayne kind of trying Batman out with a ski mask on. Of course, this makes its way into Batman Begins, so it's not pulled from a comic of Bruce. We always misconstrued like Bruce Wayne going on the streets. He wore a ski cap, not a ski mask. This is the very first time.
Everyone always thought it was pulled from year one in Batman Begins.
I mean, it's similar. I mean, it's the same idea. That's why people equate it to that. But I mean, the ski mask of it all, which again is just it's just taking that idea but making it a little bit smarter. Like, oh, he's just wearing a ski mask, and again, kind of a guy in the guise of what a vigilante before it's in like an ideal like Batman. Vigilante is just again essentially it's a criminal working outside the law, but for again not not committing crimes, but he wears the guise of a criminal. That's kind of what we have with the ski mask of it all here. And we see why that idea needs to evolve into kind of like a heroic kind of get up. So again, this sequence I think is a winner. I'm very emphatic about how much this scene really is kind of building on the mythology of Batman and kind of how it adds that great element to the movie of like, how do we sell, like, why do we not start off with Batman? Like, how does he get from Bruce Wayne to Batman? How do we not do the training? Well, we show him taking his training and putting it into use. And in this case, the X factor I love in this movie that we find out through the love stories that Bruce, he's effective as a vigilante, but the problem is he's not scaring anybody. And I love how he discovers that. He needs the bat, he needs the bat emblem, he needs the bat moniker because, he needs to kind of throw criminals off their game. He needs to get into the heads of the superstitious and cowardly. You can't do that. It's just like, okay, well, it's another one of us. I'm not scared of that. It's a guy he can kick our butts, but, we can't exactly, if we had enough guys, we might be able to take him. There's no shaken confidence. There's no kind of mythology applied to that. And of course, I love all the pre-Batman gadgets here, the caltropes, the little spike balls he throws at the tires, the hammer, like all the very practical gadgets here. And again, we see with that vigilante, Bruce, this early in his career, seeing a Batman this early and this vulnerable in his career, he's in great peril a lot in this. He's getting beat up, and he almost got smushed by that truck.
And then the big twist is that he died, and there's a twin Bruce Wayne, and he's the guy in the present. I don't know. Dragon, just like I said, just keep going back to Batman Begins. The whole point of Batman Begins is making Batman a symbol, making Batman a force to be reckoned with, someone that's more than just a man. And I feel like that's definitely Mask of the Phantasm in a nutshell. And Andrea Belmont is really the main obstacle. Like, it's not Phantasm, it's Andrea herself. It's her whole presence. That's the obstacle that's keeping Batman from reaching his heights. So it's like, in a weird way, it's like Batman himself is what we're rooting for, but we have to take away Bruce Wayne's happiness to get to Batman.
Yeah, it's not an easy solution. This scene feels like a Boyd Kirkland scene because of the staging. Boyd Kirkland, he loves interesting staging in his Batman episodes. Basically, took the directors from the animated series and had them direct sequences all throughout this, direct like the individual scenes. So I can't verify it. I guess it's Boyd Kirkland. Because this is a very well staged romantic scene. Again, I think you get away with more without dialogue.
I love the running gag coming up with Alfred and lemonade.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Again, I love the old school romance with this relationship.
Yeah, it's nice. And it very much makes sense that they meet out of the grieving of the death of the loved one.
Exactly, T. And I love that. I think that deep down, that's why they're soulmates, because they met at that cemetery in a very personal place for Bruce. I mean, I love how personal this story is for Bruce, and that's why I love how Andrea, and that's the thing that keeps giving this movie resonance after all these years, Teague, is that it always boils down to kind of, you buy the relationship, you buy the love story. I mean, Richard Donner and Tom Mankiewicz always had a famous saying when they were working on Superman. If you buy when they're working on the Superman 78 film, if you buy these two kids ending up together, if you buy the love story, the movie will people will buy the movie. So again, it's always boils down to the personal relationships of your characters.
Hashtag 2 cute kids.
Yeah. So yeah, and of course we have a good mob plot too. I mean, Dini, I would suspect that either Dini or Burnett kind of came up with the mob stuff because of course the animated series loves their 40s gangsters, and we definitely have that here. And we make it into like a good plot line, a good kind of mystery that again ties into the Phantasm, and surprisingly, in a good way, ties into our love story.
Yeah, I would say, Dragon, even though I knew who the Phantasm was, there were parts of the mystery, specifically like what exactly went down between Bruce and Andrea that caused the split. That's the thing that really intrigued me about it. Like, basically, I knew the resolution, I just didn't know exactly how we went to the resolution.
Like, this is going to be hard for you to answer, I'm sure, but I mean, if you never knew who the Phantasm was, just based on the mystery the way the mystery was approached in this movie, you think you would have known who it was, or do you think you'd just be at the seat of your pants excited?
I mean, you're right. It would have been hard for me to guess. Like, I probably would have been a buffoon and say her father was the Phantasm.
Well,
Like
again,
that.
that's where everyone's supposed to think, T. Because you don't
Yeah,
like
right. I'm just saying. Like, I probably would have fallen right into that trap.
honestly, the real red herring, I guess, would be Arthur Reeves. Now this is cool. Now again, it's a line that went by really fast, but something I noticed on a rewatch I never caught before. I'm kind of proud of myself for is that I always loved the line, and the first Bruce Wayne line of the movie is the adaptogenic. Basically, he's analyzing in the Batcave the type of smoke that's on the glass, on the residue that he found that the Phantasm emanates with the smoke. He says like an adaptogenic polymer. Now, again, I'm kind of going in my pseudoscience mode here, folks, so bear with me. But I would like to assume that adaptogenic means basically it would kind of adapt to shape, which basically would excuse the one plot hole people have always kind of cited this movie for, which is, how does the Phantasm make such great exits? I would say because that adaptogenic version, like of the smoke, kind of allows you to kind of maintain a shape within the thing, which allows you for like more time for your exits.
And for me, I just think it's theatrical and it looks cool, and I don't really think about
That,
that kind of stuff.
I'm just saying to you, I mean, you're right. I mean, yours is the correct way to think about that sort of thing. I'm just saying for anyone who's like a stickler for that,
Sure.
it's like, fine, if you want an excuse, there's your excuse. Otherwise, come on, it's fine. And again, folks, the way we just killed Buzz Bronsky there. Again, this movie's rated PG, and we got away with that. We're years later with the DC direct original animated films, where we're really pushing PG-13 or R. Well, again, I say R loosely, but you know what I mean. Like we're really pushing, like, hey, blood and swearing. Here at PG, we're getting away with very mature things. And again, we're getting away with stuff that the animated series had to dance around sometimes. We can do it again, still dancing around it, but kind of definitely be more implicit with it. And again, that's very clever.
Like, the gun violence is one thing.
Yeah, we can get away with handguns,
Uh,
smoking, broken glass, bleeding, like all that stuff we can get away with. Where the censors, they always had to kind of do a song and dance number to get away with it. Where the X-Men or the Marvel stuff, they always had like, okay, we can't do it. Let's come up with something silly. Ah, yes, the great Abe Vigoda as Sal Valestra. I've always
oh
loved that
man.
name.
Oh, this guy was kind of like one of the big surprises of the movie for me, Dragon. Uh,
I love our mob. The Dini had to come up with the names for the mobsters like Sal Valestra.
oh, I love all the mobster names in this movie.
And of course, right here, and that look, I've always it's a shame to see Gordon exit the movie, but it makes all the sense in the world. Like he wouldn't go after Batman like this. He said no, I'll have no part of it. It's like, yeah, that's my guy, but why does he have to leave the movie? I do respect this, and I love this ever since on all the rewatches. I love that you can see that. I love that Gordon sticking up for Batman in that moment warns Batman not to go to the bat signal. I really love how Gordon kind of helps in that moment. Again, it's like kind of you're reading into it, but I think it's a nice little moment.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
Now, this is a nice detail I never noticed for a long time watching. I've watched this many times, but I love how we pan over from the crime scene. Like they're cleaning up the crime scene with those with the bulldozer and everything, and the police car in the background. That's why they have that there on the very right of the screen. They're cleaning up the Buzz Bronsky mess,
Oh
and
man,
Batman,
that's cool. That's a pool. Nice.
right? And of course, we have so many beautiful shots here. And like again, this is like a classic shot. We have so many, and it's Batman 101, folks. It's Batman in front of the
Yeah,
Wayne headstone.
yeah.
It's oh my god, it's these painted cells, Tiki. These painted cells just fill me with such nostalgia and delight.
I don't think Bruce Wayne should necessarily be in a graveyard poking around the Wayne Memorial in the Batman costume, though. I don't
Now,
think it's
Tiki,
the
I'm
best
going
idea.
to defend this because
All right,
again,
go ahead, defend it, defend it.
so real quick, because then you're not alone in that. Everyone kind of points
I
to
know, I know.
is that I would like to think I love how we go full circle with Bruce and Andrea. They're in the same spots that they met each other in the flashback, which is kind of nice seeing them then and seeing them now. And I'd like to think that again, it speaks to the whole when Andrea's involved, Batman's going to make a mistake like he was when he was in earnest youth, when he was kind of green in the Batman thing. So again, it's something that Batman making kind of an amateur mistake, he would do only if like, hey, Andrea Beaumont's like someone from his past is kind of
Puppy love dragon. Oh,
that
isn't that cute?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you could kind of buy it. I mean, if Batman's like he's very well trained now. Again, someone's coming from his
Just
past is going to
awesome
throw.
game. I mean, look at him there, like staring at the date like a freaking lost puppy dog.
That's what I'm saying. Andrea is throwing him off his game a little. I think that's part of the story, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I just think it's a little more precious than you do.
No, I think it's nice, and also, I mean, look. If the last thing I'll say is that look, we see evidence later on that Andrea, she knew that Bruce. I mean, she picked up on the vigilantism thing in the flashback, where like she knows he's up to something. She just didn't know it was like a Batman thing necessarily. Like, she confirmed that it was Batman. She knew he was doing something. And I mean, she's a vigilante. We're gonna learn that she's familiar with vigilantes herself. So
Yeah, I mean, there's just no way. Okay, so Dragon, here we go. I love this. I'm sure this is one of the things you were looking forward to me seeing, right?
this is why you really had to earn it, Tiki.
This is why I had to earn it.
Well, this is one of the main reasons. This is one of the big reasons you had to earn it.
Okay, so folks, as some of you might know, I'm obsessed with World's Fair stuff. I'm obsessed with Epcot. It's kind of one of my obsessions of the moment right now. And yeah, this is just all great. It's Dragon, there's something so Spaceship Earth about this ride that they're going on right now.
Oh yeah, now this so the animated series always took like, let's just take Gotham and let's mix it with like the World's Fair, and they kind of literally did that here. So they finally got a chance to kind of put that to use. And Marty Pasco, again, he wrote all the flashback stuff, so a lot of this kind of great intuitive stuff here comes from that. And by the way, Tiki, you'll be happy to notice they actually looked at original Disney concept art to get the House of the Future specifically.
Yay.
Specifically the House of the Future, but I mean, I would assume the rest of the stuff too.
Which is interesting because the House of the Future, okay, Disney nerd tangent here. The House of the Future, I love how it's presented in the context of a bigger ride when it was just kind of like a walk around thing in the Disney parks.
I love how everything comes back. The fan, the house, the robots, all of it does get paid off. And by the way, a little thing with the Batmobile, I love that. Now, he doesn't just buy that car, by the way. He gets into, he loves that look. He loves the Art Deco design on the car, and he years later.
I love how geeky Kevin Conroy gets over the car. He's like, oh.
And again, I love that we can have a human Bruce Wayne. Like this scene right here where Bruce is like, we're used to Batman playing up the Bruce Wayne side, but we're seeing an actual kind of earnest, like puppy dog love Bruce Wayne here, where he's like, oh sure, I'm sure, Alfred, what am I saying? What's going on here? Where he's just like, oh, no, I'm nervous about meeting the girl's father. It's cute. Also, I'd like to think that that World of the Future, that moment with him and Andrea in the World of the Future ride, I'd like to think that maybe that's Batman's view of what Gotham should have been in the future. Like maybe that was like when he started putting on the suit. Maybe that was like what he hoped a successful mission that Batman went on would end up as. Like I could be with Andrea, and and basically Gotham be like a night. Basically, he's trying to make that memory what Gotham should be. Little little headcanon there. Just throwing it in. Oh yeah, so the great Stacy Keach as Carl Beaumont here. Now I love Stacy Keach. I really do. He's such a good actor, especially in Prison Break. He was so good on Prison Break. And also he was the narrator to the Pixar story documentary. Stacy Keach, he's an excellent actor. And I loved how he brings that fatherly quality. And I'm reaching here for this part, but the fact that he has a mustache does maybe call to mind like a vague kind of like Thomas Wayne vibe of like, the image that we have in this movie is very present of Bruce. We see the epic portrait of Thomas and Martha Wayne, which looks essentially like Bruce Wayne with a mustache and Martha. And what I love to look at in this movie is that Bruce looking at that picture, we don't look at that in like the dramatic context of like, hey, Bruce's parents are murdered. We're looking at that as a reminder of Bruce's happiness. Like Bruce could live out the happy life that his parents had. Like again, Andrea looks vaguely like Martha Wayne in that, basically, if they were like posed together in a photograph, you could see them kind of as a Thomas and Martha Wayne couple. And I always like to look at it like that symbol is, again, not a depressing reminder, but like a hope for like a tragedy of like, this, you could have had this, but you kind of got in the way of your own happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now this scene, Paul Dini, he was slated to write a couple scenes, and this scene he asked Alan Burnett not to do because of his mugging in '93, because of that.
I didn't even think about that when I was watching this.
He was slated. Again, he did odds and ends, so he did other scenes aside from the Joker stuff.
Right,
this scene right here was, again, he was, and Alan Burnett being so accommodating, like he absolutely understood. Oh yes, certainly, of course, I wouldn't ask you. I wouldn't ask you to write that. So again, of course, folks, I highly recommend that book. Tiki and I, we did a whole thing about it. Just the Dark Knight, a true Batman story. If you want us to elaborate on it, that's where you'll find that. Just again, absolutely amazing kind of behind the scenes story of like the events that swirled around this movie.
Okay, real worldness aside, Dragon, I gotta say the leader of this gang looks kind of ridiculous. Am I the first person to point that out?
When you say ridiculous, do you mean the whole chain and the whooping thing?
Yes, but I also mean he kind of looks like an animated Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really bother me. I think that honestly, a part of me thinks like the chain thing might have been like maybe some leftover kind of Mad Max love
Fair
from
enough.
being back in the Mel Gibson Mad Max of it all. I do love this though. I love that again. Bruce Lee looks like again we're seeing kind of the vigilante, the problem of the ski mask vigilante here, where again they're not afraid of him, but less that I love it. It's a twofold problem. When he's in the mask, they're not afraid of him. When he's out of the mask, when he's on the job here, Andrea, while he wants the happiness, we see that he can't maintain that life and have Andrea on the side because he's going to have someone to worry about him on the side. In this fight, and that's what the whole point of this fight is, Tiki. He's taken off his guard because Andrea's waiting on the side and
Yeah,
he kind of
it's the
he
classic
loses.
hero's conundrum. It's like, what is a hero supposed to do when he has a loved one to go back home to? And in this case, it's permeated by Andrea being like literally right there.
Exactly. By the way, the image that he was the basically adding a cape to this again. He's trying to find out what's scary. Maybe add a cape. When he adds the cape to the drawing,
Okay.
and after so you understand what I'm talking about that Gotham episode. That design he has right there. It's exactly what Bruce Wayne was kind of hallucinating in that episode on Gotham recently. That image right there. So again, a phantasm pool.
Right, right. I hear you. I hear you.
So again, folks, this I would argue is like the definitive scene from this movie. Coming up right here. This is like the big scene. This is Kevin Conroy's Oscar scene right here.
All right.
This scene of this it's the most honestly it's one of the most I'm going to go as far as this. It might be one of the most pivotal Batman scenes ever. It might be because and this scene in the making of this movie, this scene was always in the script from day one. It never Michael Reeves, I believe, wrote this scene. Sorry, not Michael Reeves, Martin Pasco. He wrote this scene. It never changed from the initial draft because they knew this is the most important scene in the movie. The staging is, it's great. Kevin Conroy, he's always kind of played Batman like Hamlet. He's always, as he claimed, he always looked for the pain in the performance. And this is like, you can only play that so much in 22 minutes. And this in a movie, and you can really develop and kind of build to this point. He finally got to play his big Hamlet scene as Batman. And it always boils down to that line, Tiki. Please, I never count on being happy. No, I didn't count on being happy.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Please tell me it's again. Tiki, years later, I mean, this bit really gets me misty here when Andrea shows up and the music complements us so well. And and she says, maybe they sent me. Oh my God, it's like this is the most beautiful romantic thing I've ever seen in Batman right here. Just her consoling.
Well, what it is it's very much kind of like the thesis statement on Batman, like what Batman is. It's the vow in a nutshell. You know what I mean? And then it's
Yeah,
broken up by like, but maybe there's another way. And
exactly.
exactly kind of the fascinating thing about this movie that we really explores that other angle to it. Like I said, it was a ballsy decision to really make this movie super personal for Bruce Wayne. This isn't this isn't even a Batman story as much as it is a Bruce Wayne story.
It's a story where we give an alternative the name of Batman, essentially. So where we give kind of what do we call this tragedy? We call this tragedy Batman. That's what do we call the event that kind of summarizes the end of this relationship. We call it Batman. In that way, that's kind of where we kind of work in Batman. But you're right, Tiki. Predominantly, it is Bruce Wayne's story, and that's and again for the longest time in Batman movies, we really made it the villain's story before we made it Bruce Wayne's story. And until Nolan, we don't really do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, don't get me wrong, I mean, Val Kilmer is kind of like a toe in the right direction on that, but he really that's what I'm saying. Even then, again, what?
I said just a little dabble.
Yeah, like a little devil, but and also I love that shot where like we have like that freeze from Sal Valestra in the cars, like at the end. It's like,
There's some anime inspired shots that I kind of wonder if they didn't get that from with the freeze frames.
There's a Batman reference to I've met both of these guys, the guys who kind of without them we don't really have like a detective Batman in the comics anymore. We yeah, O'Neill and Adams, there was the fronts of the business that the three mobsters ran together. O'Neill Funding Corporation, Adams Tool and Die. Now this is nice here. To my recollection, Tiki, honestly, I don't think Alfred in the animated series has ever really been this terse with Batman, and this movie really brings that to a head with these two pivotal Alfred scenes, where later on is the biggie. But right here, where he's just saying, I bloody well ought to, sir. I died for your bottom. Where
Well,
again, like,
it's just sort of like building up the not the resentment, but the conflict between Alfred and Batman through these through both the flashbacks and through the current timeline. And yeah, as we've also joked about, Dragon, you can never do a bad Alfred. I mean, even in the worst Batman movie, Alfred is always going to be a good part of that movie.
yeah, I mean, again, I love that Batman snapping at Alfred's snark for a change because again, Andrea, when it comes to Andrea, this is really personal business for Bruce, and that's what I don't think I'm far off in saying any of that stuff. With again, Batman's off his game in this movie, but I mean, he's performing very well, very still to the height of his abilities. I'm just saying that if he's making any mistakes here and there, it's because of again that Andrea was a huge moment in the formation of the Batman identity, as we're seeing unfold in the scene right here with the big Omen moment. Basically, Bruce has been looking, as a vigilante, he's been looking for the X factors. Like, I need to be scary. I'm not like add a cape. No, it's not. He's, what's scary? What's going to put fear in the superstitious and cowardly? And I love that it comes at a moment, Tegan. This is the best dramatic storytelling you can do here, where he's come to a decision. I'm going to become my parents. I'm going to embrace the life. I'm going to marry someone. I'm going to have a family. I'm going to have children. I'm going to marry this one. I'm going to give him love. And the minute he commits to that idea, he is given the answer. There's the dramatic kind of crossroads he's at. He's given the Omen. Basically, this is the year one, like bat crashing through the glass moment, or again, like assumedly he's fallen down the cave. But I mean, this is like the reminder of like, okay,
It's
you
such
need
a
to
gothic setup too. It's just rich with gothic imagery. The nice love proposal just interrupted by the stream of bats. It's almost like a painting I would see in the Haunted Mansion or something like that.
Yeah, and again, I love that
Like
Bruce.
a dark irony to it.
I love that Bruce is not. He's kind of surprised by it, but he's not afraid of the bats. He's kind of enticed by him in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And this is I love in the storytelling here that we see this scene later on, and we kind of see both. We see two perspectives on the scene: Bruce's side of it, and then Andrea's. And of course, here I love this. Basically, our mobster here, he is basically. We're going to spoil this now, folks. All right, same thing. We're going to spoil it. They know it's a commentary. They've seen this movie. That mobster is the Joker.
I couldn't imagine anyone watching this movie and being like, "Wait a minute, I didn't want spoilers for Mask of the Phantasm. How dare you?"
Yeah, but seriously, that moment with the Joker, I love that with kind of the crime and the mob element, but especially with the Joker of all people
It
being
just
involved.
zeroes in on him, and you're just kind of left to wonder, like, okay, like I know this guy's going to fix into the plot somehow. I'm just not really sure how.
Well, I mean, I love that on a rewatch. You can see that that's kind of in thematically how you can kind of personify Gotham. I love that's how Joker is like these enemies, these lifelong enemies, are kind of locking eyes in that moment and kind of locking. It's like the big storm cloud of doom over Bruce Wayne's life is Joker showing up in that moment.
Right, right.
And again, right here, and again, I love that we kind of went from the pan of like the Wayne's, like the hopeful, like Bruce's path of happiness, to like now it's a reminder of all he has left is the pain that he felt in their loss. With this beautifully silhouetted scene, the birth. This is called the birth of Batman sequence, and my God, this again, short of
This is
the
my second favorite scene in the movie.
it's the cemetery or this scene. These are the two defining scenes of the entire film. If I had the place of these, yeah,
I have another one that I'll get to when we get to it, but for this, I love how in some ways it's almost like the opening credits come to life.
oh yeah.
Like it's Alfred's reaction to the Batman silhouette. And I love how there's a mix of like you don't know if Alfred is afraid of the actual physical image that's on in display in front of him, or the
Or
man
is he
that
bearing witness to Bruce Wayne's hope dying?
right, right.
Basically, it's kind of the death of Bruce Wayne that he's witnessing in that moment. That's really why he's given the reaction. I always took it like kind of like again the death of Bruce Wayne's hope. But you're reading. It's up to interpretation.
Well, I just think just the showcase, just the the detail of emotion on Alfred's face in that moment. It's just it's sublime.
I
It's it's one of those reasons why this really is the blue meth of Batman.
Now I love this, and I love how we transitioned from that scene to our present scene. I love that again. That was solidifying Bruce's future as Batman. We go from that to, again, like that world of the future ideal that he had with Andrea is now we see what the dark reality of that future is, like what life Bruce has now in a rundown world full of this rundown world of the future that reflects Gotham and what he's dealing with now in terms of mobsters and supervillains like the Joker.
Hmm.
So this goes without saying, but Mark Hamill gives, and for my money, Mark Hamill's performance in this movie is personally at his peak. This is Mark Hamill a year into the job. This is him at his absolute prime. This is the best.
I got to agree, Dragon. I mean, I haven't seen the later works of his. I've only, I'm more familiar with like the really later works, like the Arkham games, and of course the Killing Joke and stuff like that. But this is far and beyond, I imagine, the best time he's ever had playing this role.
Hey, and this is like him, like again, a year into the job. He has the experience under his belt. He doesn't have to worry about dubbing over Tim Curry. He knows the role. It's a feature film. He's not in the whole thing, but he has just enough screen time. It's the perfect Joker role for him.
Honey, I'm
I'm
home.
home. And again, Paul Dini, again, after what he went through, again, once he found his way again, when he came back from that trauma, my God, did he write these flawless Joker scenes, this flawless Joker dialogue right here. Can't be too careful with all those weirdos around. No joke, I can quote all of this Joker dialogue.
Oh, I'm sure you could.
Especially the scene I suspect to be your favorite. That scene I know, my God. Oh yeah. So by the way, so Michael Reeves, again, our noir writer, he's the guy who wanted to include Joker into the story, and again, with Paul Dini involved, of course, Paul Dini would write it. And again, as said before, Dini did all this Joker stuff. He did a phenomenal job with it. If I were to speculate on who directed this, I want to say it's Dan Reba, because Dan Reba, he loves working with the villains. He loves kind of doing fun stuff with the villains. So I would guess that he did this.
Okay.
And the writing is just impeccably absurd here.
And just Hamill is just having such a ball with it too, just all the laughs that he's delivering.
I love kind of the almost fourth wall joke in the story that Joker is in a location that is where literally the past and the present meets with the world, the world of, with the world of the future here. It's again where we know he's a fixture of in the flashbacks. And again, if you're watching this for the first time, and I know you're not watching this for the first time, if you were watching the movie for the first time,
Right.
you wouldn't know that. And then it's like a great little reveal, like, oh my God, yeah, he's in both stories. So yes, he would be in this location that represents both stories. Oh my God, this is the most blue meanie shot of the Joker ever right here.
Absolutely.
And what this movie did so well, Tiki, is with the Joker and the writing of the Joker, is that this movie captured even better than anything else before. And it was there everywhere else before, but we captured the unpredictable, scary quality of the Joker, where again, he seems like he's befriending Sal. He knows Sal from the flashbacks. He knows him. But again, we don't know. Again, he sounds like he's old pals with him. But again, he's like grabbing him, he's throwing him around, he's shoving him around. And he gives a nice big smile.
I kind of laid the groundwork of the Joker as almost like this is how you do the Joker in a supporting role. You know what I mean? This isn't Dark Knight Joker. This isn't Jack Nicholson Joker. This is Jared Leto Joker. Eat your goddamn heart out and choke on it. This is Joker in a supporting role done right.
This is another well-staged scene. Again, it might be a Kirkland thing because of the staging and like how he loves the personal like dialogue, like kind of staged scenes. So might be one of them. And I love how Andrea, she noticed that Batman was in the room before she saw him. I love she saw the clues. Again, as we know later on, experience of vigilantism. She knows like the telltale signs. Like, okay, open windows. Okay, so she chases Arthur away, and I suspect. Well, we know it
feels bad for Arthur by the end of the movie.
Well, no, yeah, you're the only one because we find out he did something really bad, Tiki. We'll go over that again. He did, he kind of deserves what he did.
I know, but he gets a really horrific fate, though.
Well, no, he lives. I'll explain when
Well,
he's
I
fine.
know he lives, I know, but I'm saying the fact that he lives is horrific in its own right, given his fate.
Well, sometimes they implied that he died in that later scene, Tiki. But
You see, I didn't even hear anything about the implied death. We'll get to it when we get
sure,
to
sure. Well, anyway, that scene I love how again that scene that unfolded between Bruce and Batman and Andrea. It was a really personal, like real biting scene where again we saw them so in love and now they're so kind of petty towards each other. And in doing that, I love that it's so Casablanca. Of, like now you have like that pain and that love that was lost. And of course, structurally, and the really clever thing in the movie is we go from that scene where we're focused on Andrea, and then of course in this scene, unbeknownst to the audience, we're actually still following Andrea, following that moment.
it. Hmm.
And of course, now again, horrific, a corpse in in a PG movie like this, and we blow it up. That's pretty amazing. And again, we were actually allowed to see that Joker did kill people with the Joker toxin in this movie, because usually it's implied that they're going to have like a fate worse than death with the Joker smile. In this case, we did show some death now and again. The Joker was definitely implicit in. He kills at least two people in this movie. Like no, it's very heavily implied and definitely shown in certain respects with Sal Balestra there.
So just the pacing of this movie just can't be topped. You know what I mean? It's like we have that building blowing up and then boom, there's the bat jet just chasing, or the Batwing rather, just
Oh yeah.
chasing Phantasm. It's like it's just one great set piece to another. It's
And we also there's definitely an anime influence on this run, Tiki.
oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Okay, now here's my favorite one of my favorite Batman lines ever. Is whenever I have to like kind of imitate Kevin Conroy, just like if I'm reading the book or like just doing like a voice, it's like this madness ends now. That's the voice. That's the line. I always that's like kind of that's the line that kind of gets you into the kind of the Batman vibe right there. This madness ends now. That's the line always stuck with me from my childhood. It was always cool. He leaps onto the Phantasm and tries to stop him, and that was
Uh-huh.
great. Okay, now this scene here is here's another big scene. This is probably the most year one out of the whole movie. So, and of course, I love this, and recently, and this is why I was kind of dancing around it when we were talking about it, but Gotham by Gaslight does a whole, like, they do a Victorian version of this whole scene, and I love it.
I could see that. Yeah. Yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, literally,
obviously, I think this is a superior version, but
no, you're right. I'm just saying they homaged it, and it was nice, especially with the whole, like, the Victorian buildings they use as, like, the alleyways that we see later on here. So, again, all of that is directly pulled from Phantasm here. Not
sure.
even year one, it's all Phantasm specifically, which is, yeah, because it's cool.
I would say this might be a top 5 Batman chase scene in cinema history.
For me, yeah, it's easy. I agree with you very much so on that. And of course, at Bullock here again, Bullock's always been. Paul Dini wrote in the animated series Bible like the four unwritten rules of Batman. Well, the four they were written down, like the four rules of Batman. Well, I won't go through all the rules, but one of the rules he stated is that there should always be like a razor thin like line alliance with the police. That if Gordon wasn't there, if Gordon didn't trust Batman, like one false move and Batman will be faced with a manhunt like this, most likely led by Bullock. So we're really sticking to the Bible, with the animated series Bible on the rules here on this.
Mhm.
Like Bullock again, he's been kind of waiting for an excuse to take down Batman. We saw the animosity he's had with them in the first season, so we're definitely seeing that kind of.
There's one shot of Bullock at the end of this sequence that I really want to highlight. I think you know what it
Oh,
is.
I know what you're talking about here, but I mean, also this, and again, this is directly in Gotham by Gaslight here, where again the men are shooting at the Hindenburg and basically at at the Zeppelin, and we blow it up, and Bullock's you jerk. And again, I love that. A part of me would think that maybe Bullock wanted to bring him in alive. Either that or okay, no, I'm sorry. There's so much going on here. This shot here with the two fingers. That is one of the most prolific Batman images in my life right there. Because whenever I think injured
Really?
Batman, I think whenever I think of injured Batman, it's always a dramatic. It's always like a dramatic thing, showing that Batman is a mortal guy. He can get hurt, and there's a danger associated with it. Whenever I think like the battle damaged Batman, I think of like that great POV shot of those two bloody fingers and that gash on his head and everything. Like, oh my god! Like, never in my life had I ever been like at the edge of my seat with Batman in a scene than this, because it's the cops. Again, Gordon out of the equation. Batman is being almost lethally gunned down by the police here. Again, it's iffy stuff. And for years, I was like, why the heck would the police try to kill Batman? But years later, protocol is he does have a utility belt, and he does. Two people are presumed killed by Batman, and I mean, you kind of get it, but at the same time, it's definitely overkill, and it's horrific, and you're on the edge of your seat, hoping that Batman gets away. It's like one of the most thrilling, as Tiki said, it's one of the most thrilling chase sequences ever with Batman. And again, this is like all the Gotham by Gaslight stuff, like ducking down all the alleyways, and again, it's like very last second.
Uh-huh.
Here's your shot. And again, the score really reflects it too. Of like the dun, 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 dun. It's almost like a heartbeat of the audience. It's like the heartbeat of the
My
audience.
favorite detail, this is going to sound silly, but my favorite detail is the sweat.
Oh yeah, because again, Bullock's a very he's a big,
just like goddamn son of a bitch. I let him get away, and he had his mask off and everything.
yeah. And again, it's like Bullock's a character. He's kind of a big lumbering guy, and it's like he's not lazy, but by all means, like Bullock's never really had to go on like an extended chase like this before. And you get to see him like to the edge, like brought him to the edge of like, oh, I almost got him.
And of course, that brings us plot-wise back into the present, where Andrea and Bruce are able to really come clean with each other about everything that's happened. And Dragon, this movie just has a fantastic pace to it. You know what I mean? It's just, I know I brought this up before, but it moves at such a clip, and I love how we don't spend any time in the movie yada-yadaing around people's secret identities or anything like that. We just got right to it. We're just like, look, we're grown adults. We can talk about this stuff.
And again, like the stakes are all throughout this. Even look in the previous scene, the stakes were very apparent, and I love very visual. Again, Bruce, he's injured, he's bleeding, and we can get away with that now. And this, people are shooting actual guns at him, and he's without his cape. It's like it's so simple, but to a kid, you're missing the cape and cowl. It's like Batman's like the most vulnerable we've ever seen him in the animated series before. And again, we don't need to spell any of that. We're showing that, and yet in the flashbacks, you're equally as invested. Like, oh my God, Andrea's father might get killed here.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like the stakes exist in most surprising of places, and again, one of your best scenes in the movie is the heart to heart at the cemetery, and again, it's all it we never lose that momentum throughout this movie. The most engaging hour and 16 minutes of your life.
Right. I mean, to tell you the truth, Dragon, between me like still absorbing it, like this is my fourth time watching it, and then I'm listening to your feedback on it. I'm listening to you giving like you're basically giving like a commentary track in your own right. Like, hey Tiki, did you know this? Did you know this? Like, you're basically like a pop-up trivia point, Dragon. I mean that in a good way. I'm just saying, like, I'm not really intentionally like bulldogging this conversation or anything. I'm just saying, like, I'm just sort of along for the ride on it. This is just a fascinating artifact, and I have nothing but knowledge to be gained from this whole conversation.
So I love this. Now, Carl just had a really important line in the movie that really informs the third act here, where Carl says, whatever it takes. I'm going to get you out of this, whatever it takes. And of course, in the third act, the big line that Batman's going to have echoing Carl Beaumont. I love that Batman did actually take some inspiration from Carl Beaumont. He did respect Carl Beaumont in that first meeting scene he had with him, where he said, family matters. And that really connected to him that, again, Batman is a character. Bruce Wayne's a character who values the family that he lost, the family that he missed out so many years with because they were taken by crime. And again, Carl's a guy who he gets into it. It's like, what if Bruce Wayne's father had lived? Like, what if he had that fatherly connection to the guy? What if the guy had lived and kind of fell victim to the crime in Gotham? What if he went corrupt? Like, again, we're kind of playing with this idea in other Batman stories today with the whole kind of corruption and kind of if you were a big imposing figure in Gotham, like how far would it?
The whole idea of Thomas Wayne having a shady history, all that stuff.
So I like that we kind of have like that idea kind of flirt. Again, it's not directly.
Yeah, there's the reoccurrence of the lemonade gag.
Sure. It's not intended. I'm reading into it years later, but I like to think maybe that's why. Again, like Carl Beaumont, he has like a vague kind of presence and connection to Batman. Here's a funny story, real quick, because it was a very very lovely scene between Bruce and Andrea there. Again, implied sex scene. Again, classily done, very old school classily done. And with her wearing Bruce's shirt and Bruce is wearing it in the next scene. Fun story. Andrea Romano, who is where they got the name Andrea from for this movie, by the way. Andrea Romano, the voice director. There was this running gag where in animation, in superhero animation particularly, when you do fight scenes, you do like all the oofs and ahs and all that stuff. Kevin Conroy and Andrea Romano, there was always a little spark between. I think Andrea Romano never really said it, but I think she was kind of attracted to Kevin Conroy secretly.
Oh God.
And they had like a little private joke. Well, it was a fun little running gag where whenever they did the recording sessions, after the second session, which was like the ooh and ah session of every episode,
Aw.
like all the fighting noises, Kevin Conroy had like this fun joke where at the end of it he said, "Oh, Andrea," it gave like a post-coital like Batman, "Oh, Andrea," and I don't know if it's kind of like a Citizen Kane Rosebud kind of thing,
Oh
like a
God. Oh my God. Imagine if that was at the end of the credits. Oh, Andrea.
well, that would be a post-credit scene most definitely, but. But you know what I mean? I don't know if it was based purely on that running joke, but probably contribute to Andrea Romano. Either or, you can't
Okay.
lose. Okay,
Okay.
here's a fun reveal. Oh my god, the fun reveal here with our mobster, basically our gunman for the Valestra mob was the Joker the whole time.
What a twist.
And again, I love the bone structure. You can see it if you're a perceptive viewer, you can tell from the get go that's the Joker. But if not, it's a cool reveal.
I definitely had my suspicions, Dragon. I didn't necessarily know that it was the Joker, but I knew that they were focusing on the guy too much for him to be not important. So I
Now,
was kind of halfway there.
what I love, and again, right now, I'll say this right now, this is probably the best Mark Hamill scene in the whole film. Right here.
Yes, yes, and this is my favorite scene in the film.
I had a feeling, yeah. Oh my god! And again, this is the scene I know about it. The Councilman and his wacky pal. But real quick, so the
I
whole
just love how Mark Hamill just absolutely destroys this guy. He just completely brings this guy to his knees in this scene.
and again, I love that plot wise he knows all this because we reveal, okay, he was the guy he was involved and he was in the background listening to all this stuff unfold, so he knows all this.
Uh-huh.
So this Joker reveal, so the whole, basically Paul Dini, what he did is, and he's always adapted this to his philosophy on the Joker, where he didn't do Killing Joke necessarily, but what he did was kind of clever too. I always love what he kind of did here is that he took the Killing Joke idea of, if I'm going to have a background, it's going to be multiple choice. But what he did is Joker in his youth, he's an unknown guy in his youth who was a Gotham native, most likely, and probably like a kid plucked off the streets. So again, like an unknown guy who got wrapped up in crime and like crime all over. He was a guy who was traded between gangs. Like he worked his way up the criminal rackets of like he would be given like you never knew the guy's name. Like he'd be given nicknames like Lefty or like Needle Nose or like just like Smiley or being all these nicknames. And again, most likely to the point that would get us to like the Red Hood Roke, and now he's either leading the Red Hood gang or he's involved, or again, he kept it vague smartly. But
Uh-huh.
that's the idea. Like he had a criminal past, but again, like something you can never nail down. So they had that mystery, but you also had the Red Hook. You kind of had a way of having your cake and eating it too. And I've always thought that was kind of a nice, kind of cool homage to the Killing Joke, while still kind of committing to something, but at the same time keeping it a little mysterious. Kind of vaguely what we're doing with Jerome on Gotham.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And no, there are definite differences, but yeah. Okay, now this is great. I always love that. You never get a clear view of what Joker's doing, but it looks very much in silhouette. And of course, the whole spawn of his loins just happens to call. That's what's making him laugh in this scene. That's that hilarious revelation. Honestly, a part of me thinks that's why he injects him here because he on a whim he found it funny, so he wanted him to laugh with him, so he injected him with Joker venom.
And Dragon, you know what? I'm actually kind of lying about this being my favorite scene. You know what my favorite scene actually is?
Is it the last laugh at the end?
No, this right here.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh, no, here's a sign cool take. This scene right here. Hart Bachner, when he did this, he's doing all the laughing here.
Hold on. Let me.
Oh sure.
Because I just think that this is it's such a visceral and terrifying look at the Joker's effect on people. Just the whole like the laugh that you can't stop, even though you're desperately like your life depends on you stopping laughing, and you can't control it. And Dragon, this right here, this quick, I think it lasts less than a minute, but before he gets sedated, it really made my stomach turn, Dragon. It really made me just go.
I'm trying, for God's sake.
I was like, oh my God, that's horrific. Like, imagine being in that state. And then, of course, just the coup d'etat is, I just love how Batman plays on it. Like, I love when Batman comes, he's just like, oh no, it's you.
Oh yeah, and Tiga, that's the brilliance of this too, because it's like tied into like, the adrenaline or like his heart rate or something. Where again,
Uh,
if he's like, it's tied to his stress, so he's like the tears are coming from his eyes because he desperately does not want to does not want to laugh himself to death in the scene of like stress with being interrogated by Batman.
right, right.
So I mean, you're absolutely right about Tiga. This is a terrifying.
So yeah, this is my favorite scene in the movie right here, this interrogation. I love the way that, like I said, I love the earlier in the scene we see the full on terror of the effect that the venom's having on him, but then the Batman being added to the mix, it's such a great concoction. It's and just the tension of him, like, like he can't lose control, but he's like on the brink of losing control.
I love how disgusted Batman is with him because essentially he sold Andrea's father to the mob because he wouldn't, basically because he tried to blackmail him and he said no.
Uh-huh.
And again, in that moment, now just for the record, so it's not in the movie though. So people always read it that he died because Batman interrogated him. To be fair though, we find out in the comic, and again, it depends if they did a sequel comic to Mask of the Phantasm. Like it was a one time thing, it was a one issue thing. It was good, and it basically answered any questions people had about leftover from the Phantasm. Kind of answered a few questions like what happens next with Andrea, what happened to Arthur Reeves, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
why didn't she kill the Joker, and basically we learned that Arthur Reeves is indeed alive. He did live past this, but again, it was probably by a threat after the intensity of that scene. And well, when Hart Bachner recorded that, his laugh, I think he did it all in one take, but when he did that, he did all of that laughing, and he terrified everyone in the recording booth.
Oh, I bet. Oh my god. I'd love to see some raw footage of that.
There is some footage of Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy recording their lines, but unfortunately, no Bachner. You know,
So, like, we're what, like, I'm almost an hour into the movie, probably about an hour into the movie.
we are getting ready to enter the third act, which is where all the theatrical budget comes into the whole fray, by the way. And again, all of this, even if this all still looks fantastic, these backgrounds look astonishing.
I'm just saying, like, an hour into the movie, and Joker and Batman are finally interacting with each other on a personal level, on a face to face level.
I love, by the way, speaking of all the laughing and just keep rubbing with all the Joker stuff happening. I love that on the phone after Joker has like called someone to tell him that he's blowing them up. I love that he's laughing. Hello, operator. I believe my party's been disconnected. I love that, and I love that we juxtapose like Joker kind of messing with Batman in the present too. We have the big reveal of like why she's targeting Joker specifically, and that oh my god he killed her father, which is the big reveal that okay Carl Beaumont is not the Phantasm. Andrea is, and I love it's like almost vaguely biblical that he's eating the apple like a serpent eating the apple
Yeah, yeah.
in the garden. And I love that we don't see what it's kind of like the Jack Napier idea from '89, where this guy was like a sick individual before he was the Joker. So you got to wonder what horrific thing he did off screen to Carl Beaumont that causes her to let out that blood curdling scream like that. That's horrifying to me. Like, I'm imagining that room is painted red, Tiki. That's what I'm imagining. He did stuff to that man that would be that it's unholy. Oh, here we go. Your angel of death awaits. And I love that Joker's smart enough to have pieced it together. He probably knew from the get go. For being honest, I love that he knew. I just love that you can cut the theatrics, lady, and basically saying the audience is caught up. We all know it by now.
It's been 25 years. I'm the Joker. I can break the space time continuum.
The costume's a bit theatrical, but hey, who am I to talk? And of course, finally, taking me the first time we've ever done an animation, he finally used the acid flower because we can get away with it now.
Uh huh.
My God, the acid flowers, it's great. It's a Joker staple. I love it. Again, we get away with everything here. This is what I'm talking about, the blue meth of Batman. It's like anything we couldn't do in the early seasons of the animated series, we finally did here.
Yeah, it really pays off. It definitely leads to a fantastic climax here.
Yep. And again, I think it's specifically when we get into more of the kind of the Batman Joker of it all. But even here, for all I know, it's again we're getting to the theatrical animation. The whole strategy behind that, by the way, was okay. We have an influx of cash, but we still don't have any more time. what are we going to do? Well, the best we can do in this situation is we can add something at the top, which Eric Radomski, he did that opening because he was the background guy on the series. He invented the whole black backgrounds on black paper design. So he came up
Oh,
with
of course.
2D.
Which without that design, you wouldn't have the iconic style of the show. That was pivotal.
So he's the guy who kind of brought that to 3 dimensions with the opening.
Right,
What they
right.
did is, okay, we have some spectacle at the beginning because it's the old adage of people are going to remember the first thing, the last thing they saw from the movie most. And in looking at that, okay, so we have to make sure the ending sticks with people, so we got to put all of our money into a really memorable conclusion and climax. That's why they saved all of their showstopping stuff for the end. And again, the fan from early, I love how we're utilizing all elements of the park here. Again, the future, the dark future that has kind of ruined both Bruce and Andrea's lives is what's trying to kill them right here.
Mhm.
Again, your biggest fan, I guess. The pun. That's one. And I love that we add this level of
I'm sorry, Dragon. If I'm not commentating on it, it's just that I'm literally like swept up in the animation. Like, actually, this is the most suspenseful scene in the movie for me right here. Like, every time I watch it, even though I know what's gonna happen, I'm just like, it just sells you in. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my god, she's really gonna get sucked into that thing. Hurry, Batman, hurry, goddamn it, go.
I've always loved the Art Deco design on the Bat Cycle here. I love like that on all the motorcycles, but particularly the Bats. I have like that curved thing on the fenders. Like you don't really get that motorcycles today. It's like a really cool design element there.
Uh-huh.
And there it goes.
Yeah, and I love how it's a subversion where it's like we think he's just gonna catch her, but instead it's like, no, this whole thing has to crash.
Some Joker like it's like swiper no swiping. Like darn. Okay, now this is a beautiful thing in the writing here, where Andrea, of all people, she kind of she throws Batman's own philosophy in his face, and again, this is where I'm talking about the whole Batman off his game quality, where again she throws something that Batman can't combat, where Batman says, "But Andy, what will vengeance solve?" And she asked a very logical, like she has one. She kind of has Batman at his heels here, where she says, "Bruce, if anyone knows the answer to that, it's you." And again, Batman doesn't have an answer to that because again, he realizes in this moment that he's chasing the same demon to like. Famously in the animated series, again, of the word choice, Tiki, vengeance. I am vengeance, I am the night, I am Batman. That's all of Batman's identity, and Andrea's a wake-up call for him. Like, it's a reminder, an epic reminder of, oh my god, I could easily become Andrea. And again, the Joker of all people, as we see, I mean, Batman's really angry at the Joker in this movie, and you gotta imagine a lot of that is because he's kind of realizing in this movie and uncovering this mystery that, hey, Joker, again, we didn't do like the '89 theory. He killed his parents, but he did kind of create Batman.
No, but I think we did something even smarter where he created this butterfly effect style like ripple in Batman's life where
he ruined his happiness.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, look, here's an Easter egg. Look at the Warner Brothers logo. Ah. Okay, now this sequence is great, and this is a wonderful homage to Dick Sprang. Dick Sprang was the guy in the comic. Also Bill Finger, but mostly Dick Sprang, where you had like the giant props and everything.
Right, right.
So basically, we're looking at kind of Joker and Batman as like kind of kaijus or like Godzillas in a representation of again Gotham City. So I love that. Tiki, look in the Dark Knight, we have an excellent. Everyone remembers the Batman Joker from the Dark Knight, but to be fair, they remember the intellectual conversation at the end of that show. And the whole like you blow up the boats versus the whole like you and I are going to do this forever padded cell of it all.
I mean, if we're talking Dark Knight, I think the interrogation scene is the most.
No, well, I mean, no, I'm saying like in terms of like climax. I mean, yes, there's that. But I mean, like, final in terms of a final showdown between Batman and the Joker. I mean,
no, honestly, I think in terms of the final showdown, the aftermath, we're two dogs destined to chase each other forever. That whole thing, I think, is even more iconic than the action. You're right about that.
Sure, and I mean you have that, but I mean here in terms of action, like, this is the most iconic for me. This has always been the most iconic kind of a Batman Joker showdown. That's cinematic. It says a lot about them visually, and okay, it's like these two towering giants are always going to be kind of going up against each other through all these years. Batman's giant in the city of Gotham, and so is the Joker who's trying to kill him with a giant building, trying to stab him with a building. The most ridiculous of ways to go here, and again. I love in this sequence too. We're upping the brutality just a smidge, but it goes a long way. Where like he's getting cut by these helicopters. When he punches, he like a little red plume there, like it's either gas from the thing or it's his hands get a little cut there. It's
right.
It's amazing, and again, it's brutal, amazing. He knocks out one of the Joker's teeth. Like again, there's consequence, and there's like we can plus what we usually do with these two. having a showdown. One of my favorite episodes in the animated series, Laughing Fish. That's a testament to the Batman Joker relationship. But I mean, again, as great as that is, that's for a whole episode. This is like just that economized into a third act climax. So you check off all the major Batman boxes in this movie. Again, you have your big, okay, what do we say about Batman and the Joker? Well, we have that here, and we tie him into like the whole like he ruined Batman's happiness. And of course, this brings to mind the toy fiasco because this film, while it was very poorly marketed, it did have an excellent toy line. And one of the two most memorable, hard to get toys were the Phantasm, where it was a spoiler within a toy where you could unmask the Phantasm and reveal it's Andrea. And you also had Joker with the rocket pack.
I imagine Joker with the rocket pack is super popular.
I have it.
Nice.
So, and this is great here. And again, it's absurd, but in the right ways. And basically, all of this, like the buildings include and the rocket pack and everything, I think it goes to show that in a comic book film, you can get away with anything, most ridiculous things, if you ground it and if you buy the circuit, if you invest yourself in the world, if you believe it. You can get away with anything. You can get away with like Joker trying to impale Batman with a building, and have that believably be the death of Batman. You can get away with that.
Oh.
And again, he's echoing that line there, whatever it takes, as in the place is going to explode in 5 minutes. And Batman is willing. Again, he doesn't want to just kill the Joker. He's like saying, I won't let the Joker get away to ruin more lives. If it costs my own life to make sure we both, either I bring him in or we both die, I will ensure that happens. One, for Andrea, secondly, just, for the betterment of Gotham. That just shows you like the heroic sacrifice Batman's willing to make.
Yeah, and I mean the stakes that this movie gets down to too. It's it's nothing less than the Battle of Gotham's soul at that point. It's to quote the Dark Knight, it's very much like, look, we can't keep doing this forever, so I'm gonna have to do something drastic here.
Okay, oh my god, this sequence here. But I was give credit because it's already passing, getting close to the end of the movie. Kevin Altieri, he did the building fight that passed earlier. Here we go, big explosion. Oh my god, this now for my money, Tiki, and again there are a lot of good contenders, but for me, easily, this is the best Joker laugh we've ever gotten. Mostly has the requiem, has the operatic, scale behind it. It's like one of the most iconic, probably the best Joker laugh Mark Hamill will ever utter, in my opinion. Basically,
I will admit I have the sound off watching it, so I'll have to go back and rewatch the laugh with that in mind, with the sound on. But I can't deny it's a powerful moment. It's very cathartic for the Joker.
And I'm going to reading into this, but my guess is I think Joker's laughing. I think the joke that he's really laughing at here is the future is basically the future around him is destroyed because of something he did in the past. A part of me thinks that's why he's laughing so hard at this.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, we all know that the Joker is a man who loves his dark irony. I mean, he gets off on that stuff. He lives for it.
And here's something, this always stuck with me here, that Batman, he's looking for Andrea in the smoke. And as he's doing that, she says, goodbye, my love. And it's a wonderful, like, kind of sad goodbye between them. And again, it's her saying, like, she's no turning back. She is going to attempt, she's going to attempt to kill the Joker. And basically, there's nothing Batman can do to stop her. And what I love is Batman, he's trying to search for her as the place is about to get destroyed. And Batman leaves. He's almost forced out by the will of Gotham in a way. And that he is forced out. I know in my bones Bruce Wayne wouldn't have left that park until he found Andrea. And we see him forced out of the park. That's the only way we get him out of there to that beautiful kind of long shot. And of course, now, for my money, Tiki, again, another like kind of best of moment here. Best Alfred scene in all of Batman the Animated Series right here. There are a lot of good ones. This one right here, the only time ever he has just called him Bruce. Not Master B, not Master Bruce. The only time he's ever just called him by his first name, Bruce. Vengeance blackens the soul, Bruce, and I feared you'd fall down that hole as well. It's kind of the answer to why Alfred sticks with Batman, why he sticks with Bruce in this crazy crusade, is that deep down he believes that Bruce is going to make the right choice, that his morals are, that he won't fall into that abyss. Is that hope? That's the reason Alfred sticks with Batman, because he knows in his heart, he hopes in his heart that he won't go Andrea's path. He won't fall down that hole where you can't save anyone, where you can't save yourself from those compromises of, again, Andrea and Batman were kind of fated to go on different paths from their own tragedies. the murder of her father sent her down a path, and the murder of Bruce's parents sent him down a similar path. Only she went that extra mile to where her soul kind of can't be saved, and we kind of see that here where we leave Andrea, where Andrea, it's a bittersweet thing. I love that she survived. I love that we didn't kill her because Andrea didn't get her
We
revenge.
didn't kill her, but at the same time, we know there's no possibility for her and Bruce to get together. We know that ship has sailed. We know that she's an entirely different, corrupted kind of person, and in a way, that makes it even more tragic.
Andrea, what we see of Andrea, and she says like, I'm alone. In saying that, we know she didn't get her revenge because Joker's still alive. So regardless, even if she got her revenge or no revenge, which obviously no revenge, she's left empty and alone, without Bruce, without prospects. And Batman again is also left alone, but he's left with again kind of this crusade that's always left with, which is kind of, it's again, there's he's still living with that hope for making a world like the world of the future that he embraced with Andrea that one time. He's still trying to make Gotham a better place. He's still trying to kind of be that hero. And again, we continue the tradition that honestly, if you really think, it's not the very last shot, but it is essentially how we've ended all the Batman movies. Not Batman v Superman, but all the purely Batman solo movies. We end on the bat signal.
Sure, sure.
Every Batman film has ended on the bat signal. This has always been my favorite of all Batman endings, where we end on it and we have this beautiful kind of. I always love that, like that kind of that block of Batman where he looks up, with the cape folded over him, and he awakens like a bat, and then he sees the signal, and he swoops off with that operatic music for going full circle with it. It's a thing of beauty.
And of
It's
course,
just
it builds into the actual movie, where the movie is all about Bruce Wayne kind of coming into his own. And now that we've seen the events leading up to Batman, we know Batman Prime, and Batman Prime is always going to be out there.
absolutely. And like for me, that because of this movie, that's always been like you can't end a Batman movie properly without having the bat signal factor into the ending somehow, because it speaks to that character. It speaks to Batman's always on call. That's what that is. Like Batman's always on call. He's never going to give up. When that light's in the sky, he's going to come towards it. He's always going to be like he's going to be trying to help people at the end of the day.
Okay, Dragon, as we near the end, I guess I'll give my final thoughts. As I said, man, I apologize for not being as engaged in this guy. I don't want it to seem like I wasn't engaged with the movie, because it's quite the opposite. I was like, literally every time you tried to stoke me into conversation, I was like, oh wait, I'm sorry, I was paying more attention to the movie than I needed to. Dragon, that's a compliment to the movie itself. I've never done that with a commentary before. I promise you, I'm not falling asleep or anything. This is just such a damn good movie that I got totally engrossed in it once again, watching it again. But having said that, I just think it's of course it's a masterpiece of the genre. It lives up to it lives up to the hype, and I will pretty definitively say without much doubt that this is the best Batman movie ever made. I mean, hands down, better than any of the Tim Burton Batman movies. I would say it has the core ideas of the characters down better than the Nolan films though do, even though the Nolan films are very interesting and well made in their own right. It's all about the core of the character. It's all about getting that core down. And Mask of the Phantasm just does that. Mask of the Phantasm is just like the ultimate thesis statement for Batman. It's such a personal journey. It was such a ballsy risk to take, as I keep saying, to be like, hey, we're gonna do a Batman movie where the Joker's a side villain and the main villain isn't even a villain, and the main conceit is that Bruce Wayne is struggling and sad and he doesn't want to be Batman. And we're gonna turn that into like the most freaking awesome animated thing ever, Dragon. I mean, this thing just has a legacy that lives up to its name. And me being among the new generation to have seen it, Dragon, although I'm like what, like 4 years older than you, but I digress. I'm like a young lad and you're like the veteran of Batman, Dragon. You finally showed me the way, and I thank you for that, sir.
Well, you're welcome. And I just want to point that I've had another prolific Batman moment as this is going on. I kind of noticed something in the credits I hadn't before.
Oh no.
Hans Zimmer worked on this movie.
Oh wow.
He
Okay.
was the synthesist. He was the guy, I guess, working on the kind of the boards for this movie, on the kind of the soundboards. Amazing! I never caught that.
Nice,
He's
nice.
been involved ever. No wonder Batman v Superman has that. Seriously, Batman v Superman was they. I love the score to Batman v Superman that Zimmer and Junkie XL do, and you'll notice. I'm going to circle to my final thoughts here. You'll notice what they do is they have like kind of the operatic. They're not using like the last names of the crew or anything, but they're doing like a choir in the background with the Batman music. You know,
Hmm.
the,
Right, right.
it's a very that's directly refs to Mask of the Phantasm. And now we have absolute proof of that with Hans Zimmer. He was one of the guys involved. Maybe kind of doing the final mix on that. All right, so my final thoughts, Mask of Phantasm. I can go on a long time, folks. I'm just going to try to economize this. This film is an animated masterpiece, probably the best Batman film, even held up to The Dark Knight or Batman Begins. But again, it's for my money, I think for a lot of people's money, it's the best Batman film ever made. It economizes plot and character without a wasted frame. There is not a wasted frame in this hour and 16 minutes. Not a wasted frame. It's a tragedy, as the film is a tragedy in the best of senses, but in reality is a tragedy that it did not get the attention it deserved in 1993. It did not get the attention it deserved. And folks, if this thing, you gotta remember, I probably should have mentioned this in the beginning, but I'll definitely mention it now towards the end. This was the first animated superhero film ever made, full length superhero film ever made. This would have changed everything had people have seen it. I mean, if people saw this, and again, more than like your diehard Batman fans who are like really like again really pre-internet folks. I mean, like early
The
stages.
pre-internet sweaties, as John Schnepp likes to say.
Sure, man. Unless you were looking for this thing, unless you like were really basically, if you missed the trailer for this that possibly aired on TV or
Well, Dragon, I mean, everyone gets Happy Meals, for God's sakes.
well, again, like in the fine print of the Happy Meal. That's what I'm saying. Unless you're combing over looking for it, you're a really smart Toys R Us shopper, realizing again Toys R Us see you back in the '90s. You're realizing, oh wait a minute, okay, so there's okay, hey, look, these new Batman toys are tied to some sort of movie. If only I could find this movie. Where's it going to be released? Unless you pull some Batman grade detective work, you wouldn't be able to find that movie back in
Right.
'93. So my point is, this thing really. This film, if it had the attention that it deserved, again, Siskel and Ebert and everyone paid towards
You know
it.
what's funny, Dragon, is I, as a kid, even remember the poster for this movie being at my local video store, but they didn't have a copy of it. That kind of speaks volumes, you know what I mean? That kind of speaks right there to the impact this movie has, although it's elusive.
I just think it goes to show it would have changed everything for theatrically animated superhero films, because now we get animated superhero films that, unless they're released by like a major studio like Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, unless they're released by a major studio, you we're slowly kind of changing that with like the animated Spider-Man film that'll be coming out, the Spider-Verse. But I mean, for the longest time though, we have all the direct-to-video animated films from DC, the DC original animated film line. Again, like that's unfortunately where those always have. There's always a production cost. There's always like they can only spend so much money. They can only be so long. We can't get like again. This was an hour and 16 minutes, and this did so fantastically well with that, and as a PG film.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine what this film would have done with 2 hours.
Oh, I
It didn't
know.
need it. It didn't need it. But I'm just saying, imagine what like another film with like again with the budget from the beginning applied to it would have done.
Yeah,
And
like
again,
from the ground up, able to tell a bigger, more concrete, epic storyline.
that's the thing. Like I'll end on this major thought, folks. Again, it's a travesty, and it kind of goes without saying. But even the last major thought I want to leave people with is that this film had everything working against it, and it goes to show that this crew, this last minute and against the wall in the game on a project, delivered a product this exceptional is astonishing that they were able to pull that off. And again, it's like again from the get go, like they were told like, hey, direct to video, like no rush on it, just working on direct to video. We want to release it. Oh, hey, by the way, guys, like 2 months later, like, hey, guys, you got like eight months or so left. Deliver a movie by Christmas, make it theatrical. Here's some extra money, and basically, Phantasm. At the end of the day, it's Batman. It is the blue meth of Batman. It's the most perfected version of Batman. It's like if you can only like gauge what Batman the Animated Series by watching one thing ever. You watch Mask of the Phantasm. It's Batman. It's a Batman episode with the time and money applied to an episode that you wish in a perfect world every episode could be made with $6 million behind it.
I know, right? Wouldn't that be fantastic?
Or phantasmic.
Oh, you clever devil, you. All right, take us out, Dragon.
Oh, what a coinky dink. We're talking about the old man, and the spawn of his loins just happens to call. Makes you want to laugh, doesn't it, Tiki? This madness ends now.
I'm sorry, am I missing a cue?
I thought you were going to laugh along with me, but okay.
I'm sorry. Go. You're throwing me off because you're not doing your usual bit.
Oh, well, yeah, you didn't cue me, Tiki. I'm sorry. It's sorry, you gotta. Sorry about that, folks. Usually, Tiki asked me to get in the Bill Dozier Batman.
Yeah, the Bill Dozier mode. Yeah,
sorry about that, folks. It's random.
That's why I was thrown off, Dragon. I was like, wait a minute, am I supposed to respond to something? I don't know what to do here. I need an adult.
Okay, anyway, folks, sorry about
Bill
that.
Dozier mode, Dragon, go for it.
Okay, for the next episode of Animated Batcave. A spa day gone awry. Eco-terrorism gone leafy. Poison ivy. Break out the calamine lotion, somebody, please. Can Batman save Gotham's elite from a transformative fate worse than death? Or is Alfred doomed to be a landscape? Find out. Same animated bat time, same animated bat place.
With Eternal Youth on the next episode of the Animated Batcave. Oh no! It's you!